Hello, and welcome to the Millennial Nutritionist podcast. I'm Isla Garcia, master's degree of nutrition science and registered dietitian, and I'm going to make weight loss realistic, sustainable, and uncomplicated for your busy lifestyle. On this podcast, me and my team of registered dietitians will decipher the latest nutrition research, dissect fad diets, and discuss social media trends for you so you can feel confident knowing what to eat to achieve your health goals. Research suggests that most weight loss programs aren't successful, but my experience has taught me that this is not because the participants aren't committed. It's because those diets are designed by non-nutrition professionals and center around severe restrictions. We are here to provide the facts about the science of weight loss so you can have the success you want and continue living your best life. Hello. Welcome back to the Millennial Nutritionist podcast. My name is Isla, if you didn't know or didn't know how to pronounce it. And today we're going to talk about fiber. I can't believe I haven't done a podcast episode on this yet. I think we've talked about it in other episodes, but I don't think I've done a dedicated episode. And we've done a dedicated video on, or recorded a dedicated video over on Millennial Living, which is our paid membership page. It's kind of like our Patreon, if you would think of it that way. But I wanted to address some fiber stuff in light of the Poppi pending lawsuit, and just open up the conversation about fiber and kind of jump on that bandwagon because fiber is like one of my most favorite things to talk about. It's like my most favorite thing to think about in my day and eat as far as like planning my meals and stuff like that, always trying to plan it around fiber. And so I'll go into some of that today and we'll talk about the Poppi lawsuit and like some thoughts about it. And we'll also talk about overall, like why fiber is good, some challenges that I see with people who don't meet their fiber intake that I can help you with, some fiber questions that I got from Instagram, my favorite fiber foods, and then some tips for like when you're really busy or eating out. Again, just to make it like relevant and not just make it like lovey-dovey little like simple tips like eat more food or whatever, how we do here, try to make it realistic for the millennials. But first, some announcements. First up for Millennial Living, we are in a new month, so happy June, and we are having a challenge over there of trying new produce 3 times this week. So another reason I wanted to pick this topic is because it's a big reason why we want to get in produce all the time is the fiber content. And so it kind of will encourage you to do that. If you're a member or if you're not, you can get 2 weeks free and check it out over there. But if you're a member, definitely take part in this challenge. You just post 3 pictures of foods or new produce that you're eating. I always try to do it and then forget, but yesterday I bought kohlrabi from the store. I don't think I've ever really tried it. Trader Joe's has it shredded. So I'm going to try to make that next week, I think. And that'll be my like new entry. But, I thought about like people are traveling, people are going to being social. So you probably have lots of opportunities to try new produce items. It keeps it really fun if you're not always just like eating an apple for a snack every single day. Like try to stretch yourself and try those like whitish cherries as a snack, just keeping it fresh so that you continue to want to eat more produce, which is so helpful in health and weight loss. I did post a produce snack guide for some ideas if you need to get started. I haven't made it or planned it yet, but of course we'll also post like a food demo of some sort. I'm thinking about making beans tomorrow. I feel like that might be good because I don't feel like a lot of people know how to cook beans. A demo, a 101 guide of some sort, like a video module about something that I think is helpful. And then recipes that will help you of things that either like I'm eating and talking about or something like that so that you have the recipes. The other updater announcement is that you probably know by now, but I'm not taking any more clients as of now. We're in June, so we're well past that date. But if you're really interested, you can do the nutrition tune-up session. So it's an hour and a half long session where you'll get your calories, macros. I'll kind of look over what you're eating, give you some tips or recommendations on what I think you're not doing well with that you could improve on, and then just like give you really in-depth tips. Like I did one today with somebody and I identified like 3 things that I think she could work on that are based on our 6 steps. So I thought she was doing like half the steps probably well, and the other half she wasn't. So we went over like specific challenges for produce, and then whatever produce recipes, and like specifically for her life, like what she struggled with the produce. So you still get a lot out of the 1.5 hour long session. And if we ever end up taking 3-month long clients again, you can use your money towards the rest of the program if you end up wanting to complete it. And that's $350 for all of that. And you also walk away with a meal plan that's personalized for you. But that is it for announcements. Let's kind of dive on into our episode. So let me pull up the article. There were so many articles on this. Somebody sent it to me at the beginning of the week. And then like I've been hearing about it all day long or all week long. So I was like, let's just hop on the bandwagon. We used to do these. And let me know in the comments below if you miss the pop culture episodes where we would kind of go over. I've thought about before doing like pop culture wrap-ups, because I personally like only listen to pop culture podcast episodes. And so I used to marry the two and do like pop culture stuff that had to do about like food or nutrition or stuff like that. But then I felt like the only news was like who's on Ozempic, and it stopped being so fun. So this kind of like revitalized that and inspired a lot of the episode today. So let me know if you like miss that or would want to do like a monthly like wrap up of pop culture stuff. Sometimes I just like keep notes of what's kind of going on, or I could always like start the episode with something. I don't know if this is fun if it's just me by myself, but we could always try it. But anyway, so I pulled the article from Food and Wine, and they kind of like went over everything. So if you don't know, the title of the article is "There's a new lawsuit alleges Poppi soda health claims are bogus." So allegedly Poppi isn't putting as much prebiotics in their drink as they say they are. And so people are upset, and that they're saying that the health claim that it could help your gut isn't true if there isn't that much in there. I don't know if this is all true or not, but I think it just opens up a bigger conversation around fortified products like this. And if it's, what should you be doing? And I feel like things like this come up all the time, which is why people end up being like afraid of certain food products, which I don't really, it's not that it's great or that, I don't know, it's not, I am not super bothered when it's a food product, because I'm always just like, yeah, duh. Like there's human error. There's not a lot of regulation when it comes to like supplements of some kind. I don't know like where Poppi would like go in the food categories, if it's like a food or a supplement or what, but it just, I don't think is ever a great idea to rely on food products to be your source of these food things, as far as like trying to get all of your vitamins and minerals and macros from products like this all the time. I've had clients that like this, and I've even had them before, and I find that I don't think that people are really like drinking it for the prebiotics. I think it's just like an added benefit, but I was liking it because I just like can't drink alcohol right now because I'm pregnant, and I just wanted something that like kind of felt fun. I think the branding is like kind of fun, and it's a lower calorie soda option. It's still sweetened. I think that's where they get the prebiotic from. So it has calories in there, but it's definitely less than a like Coke or something, which is what some dietitians bring up in the article, that it still could be helpful just as far as like a calorie deficit standpoint compared to other types of sodas. But then somebody else, of course, just is talking about how it just probably doesn't have enough of the prebiotics in there, again, to like really make a difference. So if you're relying on this to be your prebiotic, then maybe don't. But I, with my clients, always tell them like, let's not rely on these products in general, because you're always going to miss something. I'll go into it in a minute, but prebiotics, probiotics, they exist naturally in naturally occurring foods. And you just get so much more bang for your buck when you are eating a normal natural food. There's going to have lots of other like things in there. Like maybe there is also vitamins and minerals that Poppi doesn't put in there, because you're getting your prebiotic from like a carrot that also gives you vitamin A naturally occurring and stuff like that. So I'm always pro getting these, like, I don't know the right word for it, but like getting these pieces of nutrition as far as like prebiotics from a natural food as opposed to a Poppi, because stuff like this will come up and happen. So this month we're talking all about the health habits you should and shouldn't be adding to your spring health regimen, and adding more produce should for sure be a health habit that you add in. I know that one difficult part about adding in produce is constantly being busy. So I have a solution for you. It is bada bean, bada boom, crunchy broad bean snacks. They are roasted broad beans and come in flavors including sweet onion and garlic, mesquite barbecue, and zesty ranch. These are for sure the Millennial Nutritionist approved because they're only 100 calories while containing 6 grams of protein and 4 grams of fiber because they're a bean. Plus, they're actual produce, not like a powder or some sort of manufactured fruit product. It's really just a bean that's been roasted, flavored, and put in a snack bag. My favorite thing about them is that they're a produce item that you don't have to keep cold, so they're really portable. You could put them in your car, you could put them in your pocketbook for those times when you either forget to have produce or you're out and about and you don't know where to get it. One real life example is my mom came to visit me recently and we did some sightseeing around the big city of Dallas. So I knew we would need some produce items throughout the day or it probably just wouldn't get eaten. So I packed some of these bean snacks. Both she and my mom thought that they were so good. David really liked the sriracha flavor the best, and my mom really liked the sea salt flavor, just to highlight how many really cool flavors they have. And my mom actually ordered them in that moment to be shipped to her house in North Carolina, just as a testament of how tasty they are. I actually found them, the Bada Bean Bada Boom bean snacks, on my own when I was at Aldi in that special section. So they aren't there anymore, but I bought them and was so surprised about how good the flavors were. My favorite flavor is the sweet onion and mustard. They remind me of those like honey mustard pretzels that you would get as a kid at like friends' parties and stuff, and then like just never have them regularly. I showed them on a grocery haul and Bada Bean Bada Boom reached out to me to give y'all a discount code. So you can order them online now at www.badabeansnacks.com/themillennialnutritionist and make sure to use the code themillennialnutritionist and make sure to spell it right. We'll put it in the show notes. And put in the Millennial Nutritionist code at checkout to receive 15% off. Make sure you order them online because I really can't find them in any other stores now that they're gone off of Aldi. But order them and stop letting busyness be the excuse as to why you're not eating enough produce. So segueing into fiber overall, I do want to bring up that, like I said, we have an overall fiber 101 video in Millennial Living. So make sure to check that out if you feel like this doesn't go in depth or doesn't talk about like what you actually need or lots of examples. Like that's a very comprehensive, like 101, what you need to know about fiber. So in this one, I'm just going to kind of like fill in some of the gaps of what I see people have challenges on and what I think that video maybe doesn't address. I didn't make that video either. Our intern made the video, but the intern who made that video actually is the #1 podcast episode. She also was with me on the hypothyroidism podcast episode. And I believe, no. She was on the diet trends podcast episode, which I believe is still like in our top 10 episode. So she's really good with the video, but maybe it'll be interesting for me to talk about fiber instead. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So like I said, fiber is one of my most favorite things to talk about. It seems to fix almost everything, I feel like. It's where the recommendation for fruits and vegetables come in. I mean, along with getting other things like phytochemicals and vitamins and minerals, but fiber, I think, is the most like measured thing, or it's just like something that we get the biggest benefit from fruits and vegetables, at least for weight loss, I think. So it really helps with so many things, specifically constipation. It helps with the gut microbiome. If you don't have a healthy gut, people recommend to eat more fiber in different varying amounts of fiber. So fiber, if you think about like the categories of where fiber is, if you ever get confused, because this was confusing for me when I was in nutrition school, like fiber is underneath the carb category, which I went over in our last month's 101 video of how to read nutrition facts label, because fiber is tucked up under in Millennial Living, because it's tucked up under carbs if you read a nutrition facts label. But so you have carbs, then you have fiber, and then under fiber, like educationally, not like on a facts label, that's where we get prebiotics, probiotics, soluble, insoluble, stuff like that. So it's all, when we talk about these things, fiber is the big heading for all of them that we're getting ready to talk about. So different types of fiber can be recommended for the gut microbiome. Fiber helps with staying full. So when you're hungry and if you feel like you're a volume eater, you can always just like try to eat more fiber and it's going to help you to stay full with a low amount of calories. It can help with diabetes, high cholesterol, so many things. And it's not even like it can help. Like these are the recommendations that are on very reputed websites. They're the recommendations that we give as dietitians if you were like admitted to the hospital with like heart problems and we would need to give some like diet recommendations for what you should eat at home, typically it always is around more fiber. I feel like the only time somebody shouldn't be eating more fiber is if they have like Crohn's disease or if they've just had a surgery. Your body doesn't really need to be putting so much stress on digestion. So you want a low fiber diet, but high fiber diets are better for pretty much every condition. And I think we go into how it helps within the other video in Millennial Living. And like I said, for weight loss too, it helps with hunger because we don't really consume the calories from fiber. Our body breaks it up. And so it just kind of like sits in our belly and does a lot more for us, but we don't consume the calories. So that's why they call it, it's a volume food because it fills you up and then you just get rid of it in the bathroom, which is why corn like goes straight through you and like quinoa and stuff like that. So I think of it as like kind of like eating a ball of paper. It sits in there and then you'll just get rid of it. So when it comes to challenges of why people I find don't eat enough fiber, I was trying to sit and think about this, but honestly, I find that people I work with, they don't struggle with eating fiber because we work on eating fruits and vegetables. So then these recommendations are really just coming from eating more fruits and vegetables and why I think people struggle with that I see specifically like millennials who are busy, stuff like that. So first of all, just like not eating full servings of produce might be the reason you're not getting enough fiber. So some people will like use it as a flavoring. Like they'll make oatmeal and just put like a couple of berries inside or like pancakes with like a couple of berries inside or something. You definitely need to be increasing that to a full cup if possible and making produce really the star of the meal when you can. So trying to, when you're doing like a yogurt parfait, really putting that full cup of berries in there and then less yogurt. So you can put yogurt in. It doesn't just have to be like treated like whipped cream, but you might just want to change the proportions out or making sure like if you're doing produce on the side of something, doing like a full cup, not just like a little half a cup of something. And that might mean decreasing the portions of the other foods on your plate, which is why it helps with weight loss because you're probably going to have to decrease protein and you're probably going to have to decrease carbs to feel full or to be able to fit all the produce in as a full cup. The next problem that I see is people don't know how to make beans. So you don't have to eat beans to get fiber. Like fiber isn't like a you need to eat this one specific food type of thing, but beans have like some of a very high amount of fiber compared to lots of other foods. Fiber typically comes from fruits and vegetables and whole grains, and beans is a vegetable. But I find that people don't eat enough beans because they don't really know how to eat them. For me, I find it easiest to like figure out the culture of the food I'm trying to make because I feel like when I meal plan, I'm like, let me do a Mexican day, let me do like an Asian thing. And then pairing beans either as a side or like putting it in a meal. I don't often do that. I'm more so like, we'll try to do it as a side or something and then do it that way because you don't need to eat like a whole cup of beans. Adding even just like a little bit can help so much. And so, for example, like today I made chicken lettuce wraps. I'm going to post the video on Instagram, I think, and TikTok. But I put edamame on the side because to me, I'm like, edamame is like kind of like Asian-y bean. So I'm going to put that on the side. That's the only bean that comes to mind for me for Asian food. But feel free to share if you have other ideas. When I make more like Central and Southern American meals, I will try to add something like black beans, pinto beans, baked beans. So like I was actually made like a fajita bowl this week and was thinking of ways I could have probably like improved the flavor and just added more stuff to it because I literally just did like peppers and steak. And black beans could have easily been added like out of a can, just like put it on there. Side of pinto beans can work really well with a lot of like Mexican foods, especially that's my go-to when I go with my in-laws to like a taco place, is to get their side of like frijoles charros. And that's basically just pinto beans. So that goes with that. For American style dishes, if you are mostly eating American dishes, baked beans totally counts. I have a client that like every week will eat like baked beans and a hamburger, and that is honestly a pretty well-rounded meal. If you live in the South, embrace the beans. I feel like beans are really big in Southern culture. I'm, for example, making Hop and John tomorrow, which is like basically black beans on top of rice. Um, Black beans, yeah, lima beans, Crowder peas, like all those. I my great grandpa was a farmer and I have fond memories of like harvesting these things, which is why I can think of them. So embrace that. I think also like Mediterranean food, just as a last example, like chickpeas is an easy one to add into like a wrap or on a salad. Or I'm just thinking now, even like Indian food, I feel like that it really embraces beans, lentils, even like chickpeas, stuff like that is, I think, something you could add on to those meals if you're already making them at home. Just like add it into the butter chicken that you're already making. And again, like you don't have to add that much. There is so much fiber in beans that even just like adding a little could add a couple of grams to every meal. The next challenge that I note with fiber, and I have 5 of them, is that I feel like people rely a lot on supplements for fiber. And not that this is bad, but I'm just very pro making things sustainable, making things not such an effort, making it second nature. And I don't think supplementing is the way to do that with every single food item that you're trying to add in. Fiber, we can easily get from so many foods that we normally eat by making small tweaks. And unless you have like, and I'll go over it in a minute, but unless you have like a really big reason to get a bunch of fiber in right now, I think it's better just to like kind of work on your diet and increase the produce you're eating, increasing the beans, stuff like that, because I think it'll just make it more sustainable, and help you to, yeah, of course, stick with it more. Just as an example, I think of like doing something like a protein bar. So Quest bars have a ton of fiber in them, which a lot of my clients use when they're trying to lose weight, and it's great. But when you're not losing weight anymore, you're not going to do the fiber bar anymore, maybe, and you're just going to be eating normal foods, right? So it's better, like that means your fiber is going to plummet when you're not having a high protein diet anymore. So it's better to think of like foods you're actually adding in. So if you think about like a Quest bar versus something like edamame, you probably could order like at any sushi place. I always recommend clients to do that. Or I always tell people like to keep that on hand and pair it with foods or keep it as a snack. And I just think it's like a much more normal food. And you're also going to get more of other vitamins and minerals when it comes to something like edamame versus a protein bar. So I would just say don't rely on the supplements for fiber unless it's like medically needed. And I'll go over that in a minute. I think also like a lack of importance is another challenge. I think people get really confused about fiber. Fiber really isn't that hard, but it's something to get in, but we need to really be prioritizing it because it is just so important for overall health and weight loss. I just keep saying over and over again. Other things that like don't really matter as much, like are, I don't know, like vitamins and minerals, unless it comes up on a lab report that you're low in something, we don't really need to be like thinking about it like day in and day out. And vitamins and minerals don't always like help with like a million things like fiber does. Fiber helps with so many things if you're not getting that from this episode already. So I think making it as important as being in a calorie deficit, exercising, getting in your protein for weight loss and overall health is how you should treat it. The 5th challenge that I see with fiber with millennials is not doing whole grains. So fiber, also a major source is whole grain foods. So things that you can do to easily eat more whole grains is to swap your bread. If you're doing white bread, swap it for whole wheat or whole grain bread. Swap out pasta. This is not like my favorite thing. I personally like, I have the foods that I like that are not high in fiber that I'm like, no, it's not worth it. I'd rather do something else. But maybe like for if you really like bonza pasta or something like that, that could be like a good high protein food. Or if you don't mind whole wheat pasta, something like buckwheat pasta, like soba noodles, I think are technically high in fiber and whole grain and whole wheat and stuff. That could be a good swap. Or even just implementing more ancient grains. So I posted about this on Instagram that I found this 90-second like 7-grain packet from Aldi that I went back and bought like all the packets I could find because it tasted really good and you just heat it up in the microwave and it's something crazy like 11 grams of fiber per cup or something like that. And doing that instead of a side of rice, I think can be really good. Like white rice, brown rice has a lot of fiber, but I honestly don't like brown rice anymore. And so I'm always just like, well, can I just do a side of like farro or quinoa or something like that instead? Because I like the flavor of that better than brown rice. And potatoes. Potatoes get a bad rap, but potatoes have a lot of fiber because they have the skin. Anything you're eating the skin on, so something like blackberries too, is going to give you more fiber. So all that would be better than doing something like white pasta or white rice. So coming to the fiber, frequently asked or like fiber questions. We got 3 from Instagram, so that's good, a good amount for this episode. And I'll go through them kind of quickly. So the first one is that chia seeds made me go to the bathroom. This can happen because chia seeds are really high in fiber. And so if you put a lot of them in something, especially if you're having something straight up like a chia pudding, I can see how that happens. Sometimes when I have clients that will go from eating no fiber to a lot of fiber all at once, they can have some GI distress. So like constipation or their stomach fills off, they have bloating. You can either just power through it because your body will eventually adjust in a matter of like a couple of weeks, or just work them in slowly, especially with something like chia seeds. You could do like a teaspoon at a time or a tablespoon at a time and then build up from there. Just because something gave you a bad experience in the bathroom one time, if it's fiber related, it shouldn't continue to make it, especially something like chia seeds that you're not going to have an allergy or just intolerance to. If it was something like dairy or gluten or something like that, I would be like, yeah, it could be something else. I don't know if your body's eventually going to get adjusted. But most fiber foods, if you have GI problems, it's probably just because you weren't eating a lot already and it's a change. Funny story that might be TMI, but whatever. I think we should talk more about these things, especially as a dietitian. It's not weird for me because what comes in must go out. But we used to, my brother and I, when our mom would pack us lunch when we were younger, we dreaded the days that she would pack us like Fiber One bars. I don't know if anybody else has experience. And we didn't realize until a while after that we both went to the bathroom right away at school whenever we had those Fiber One bars, and would dread when my mom packed them because we knew that was the effect. And that's why, because it's just a lot of fiber all at once that your body can't always handle. And I'll go into that in the next one here. So the next question or comment was that, like, can we explain a little bit more about fiber supplements like psyllium husk? So psyllium husk is like an OG fiber. It's Metamucil is kind of what I think of when I think of psyllium husk. And we used to get recommended when I worked in a hospital. It's great. It mostly helps you with constipation. So or it like helps to block you up. So for people who had diarrhea, we would recommend doing more Metamucil, and that helps. If you have a problem with GI stuff, then yes, adding this in can definitely give you a quick relief. I don't think it's anything that people should be on forever. Again, just because being with whole fruits and vegetables when it comes to fiber is a lot better. But yeah, it's great if you have an issue with it. It's one of like the oldest and most, I feel like, trusted supplements out there. Just as, a guide, every tablespoon has about 2.5 grams of fiber. So you can always add more or less. You don't have to always do the recommended amount. If you go from like diarrhea to like major constipation or something like that, you can just decrease or increase the amount that you're eating. But yeah, I love psyllium husk. It's not a supplement that I'm like, I don't know if you really need it. But most of the time, you only really need it if you're having some sort of like major issue with your GI problems. Then the last question was, can I address soluble versus insoluble fiber? Like, which one is better? This is always confusing for me, so I did have to like brush up before I came on here. All that to say that you don't really need to worry about soluble versus insoluble. You need them both. There's not even actually a recommendation of like how much to have of each, because foods contain both most of the time. They just have them in different amounts, which is why you should just always be working on varying your diet to get different parts in. There are different purposes for them. So soluble fiber forms a gel, which slows the digestion. And this means that it can help with conditions like diabetes and cholesterol, because you're not going to absorb a lot of sugar all at once. It's going to be a lot more slow acting if literally like the food forms this like gel like blob in your stomach, and then it passes through a lot slower than you not having fiber in there. And then all of a sudden it's just like everything is absorbed all at once. So that's kind of how it helps. This is why it really helps with high cholesterol, which is a big reason why I like eating more fiber, because it does slow that absorption and even capture some of the cholesterol in your blood, and then you literally poop it out. So soluble fiber is great. You can find it in beans, peas, oats, barley, apples, and citrus fruits. So not really like a pattern, which is why I just recommend you get in a variety of foods that have fiber in them. Insoluble fiber really just helps with constipation. So that's like that psyllium husk. Or no. Insoluble fiber helps with constipation. I always get confused because we can either treat constipation or diarrhea when it comes to fiber, or both if you're eating like both of these kinds. So if you are constipated, what is typically happening is your stool is not holding enough water, or it's passing so slowly that all the water is being taken out, which is why when you go to the bathroom and you're constipated, it's probably really hard looking stool. So we want it to look moist. And insoluble fiber can help like draw water in, which is why it can help with constipation. And what can you eat to get insoluble fiber is beans, whole wheat or bran products, which is why I love my Raisin Bran, green beans, potatoes, cauliflower nuts. So again, a lot of these are overlapping, like beans are in both categories, of course, which is why I love beans. Whole wheat products are a lot of times in like both categories. So that's why overall, I don't think you should worry too much. If you are really having a problem with like high cholesterol or constipation, you could work on like just getting one versus the other in, but the overall recommendation is just to get a variety of fiber in, and basically as much as you can if you can do it. My favorite fiber foods, I wanted to include, because I'm a fiber junkie, chia seeds actually are some of my favorite. I remember at the beginning of pregnancy, I felt really constipated. I wasn't eating a lot. Some days I was having to take Zofran, which makes it even more constipated. And so I was just trying to get in as much fiber as I could, despite having a bad appetite and feeling sick. And chia pudding was a way to get it done. If you add berries, I mean, you can bring that up to like 10 grams of fiber, which is about half of what you need for a day as a woman. So if you can tolerate it, I think chia seeds, especially something like chia pudding, can be a really good way. But you can always just add it in stuff, add it into a smoothie, put it in oats is a good way to get it done. I love like bean packets or bean snacks because I'm not super great either at making beans. I try when I can, but I don't do it consistently. But I enjoy beans as a snack, surprisingly. So I love those Brahmi bean packets, the Bada Bean Bada Boom that we've been putting in and add it I need to stop saying we. It's a one woman show now that I have been putting in are also great in fiber. You could do chickpeas, you could do hummus. Those are really good ways to get fiber in. Avocado toast is another really good one because if you're doing whole grain and you're doing avocado, that's a lot of fiber right there. Avocado is sneakily super high in fiber, and so are berries. Whole grain bread and cereal, so you can get a lot in that way. I've been going through a phase where I've been eating peanut butter and jelly for dinner as a pregnant person. That's just what I want. And I can't really stomach whole wheat bread right now on a sandwich, like as a peanut butter and jelly. And like, can anybody ever? Because I don't feel like that tastes very good. But I've been doing the white wheat, which is just like bleach. I don't think it's like so bad. Eventually, I'd love to get back to eating like normal whole grain bread, but it's okay. We're in a phase. But going from just plain white to white wheat increases my fiber intake from like 1 gram to something like 3 to 4 grams, which if you're doing a sandwich is a lot of fiber all at once. Ancient grains, like I said, is another really good way to get them in. So like I said, that little pack from Aldi, I'll try if I'm struggling coming up with a carb for our meal, I will try to think of some sort of ancient grain that I could put on the side. Like I said, I posted a lot of Millennial living. So I recently made this farro asparagus feta salad. There's a quinoa salad with like feta and cucumber and radish that's really good in there too. So using it almost like a pasta salad or like mixing it with some vegetables, I think is a good way to get a lot of fiber in. And then overall, just like all produce, because then I was saying like bananas and like asparagus and broccoli, but like all produce has a little bit of fiber compared to other foods. The ones I listed are just a little bit higher. Okay. Lastly, because I feel like this episode has gone on for a very long time, specific tips that aren't like woo woo and like aren't applicable, because I hate that when people just give tips that like I'm like, yeah, but that is not realistic. So realistic tips for people who are busy or have like eat out a lot, or the weekends is where I feel like everybody's demise is. These are my 5 tips. So take bean packets with you, very specific. I tell people to keep some sort of bean packet as far as like the dried out beans, dried out edamame is a great one. And that way, when you find yourself at a baby shower where they only have cake and pretzels or something, you can either eat this before or after, or while you're there or something like that. While you're at a museum, I will sometimes do it if I'm on a trip and think I need some fiber. So take some sort of bean packets with you. Pick the produce or whole grain option when you're eating out. So I was trying to think of if you're eating out with a group of people and you're at a restaurant, or you're at like a cookout or some sort of dinner party thing, your best bet is going to be to just pick more produce to eat. And even though I just said like all this stuff about what's high in produce, fiber and stuff like that, produce is always going to be higher than meat. There's no fiber in meat because fiber comes from plant pieces. So if you can eat more of the fiber and less of the cheese, like more vegetables and less cheese or something like that, that's going to be better for you if you're aiming for a higher fiber day. If you like have a whole day where you're eating out, or like for dinner you're eating out and it's just a place that's not going to have fiber, like I don't know, I was trying to think through a place, maybe like I don't know, because everywhere what doesn't have a vegetable. I don't know if you just like ask somewhere that's totally maybe like a baseball game is like one place where I'm like, yeah, there's nothing healthy there. You can always have control over the meals that you eat at home. So if you are going through a day where you're like, this meal is just not going to have any fiber because I'm eating out at a baseball game or a football game or something, try to add it in at breakfast, try to add it in at lunch, or try to add it in throughout the week. One day isn't going to make or break anything when it comes to health and weight loss. It's the consistency of what you do on a daily average. So just focus on the times where you have control. Make your breakfast high fiber and your lunch high fiber if you can. When you're going out for brunch, so like just two more specific tips. If you're going out for brunch as an example, because I just went to brunch with my friends a couple weeks ago, so I was thinking through what I would do, is adding in any vegetable or like an avocado, something. Like some places are great and they have whole grain pancakes, but honestly, I brunch is really hard for fiber. So just add in some sort of vegetable as far as like a fruit or a produce, like fruit salad on the side would be great. Or adding avocado, I think is a normal thing to add to brunch, whether it's like in an omelet or on some places will have like an eggs Benedict with avocado or something like that, or avocado toast. That's very normal. And then as my last idea for you is if you are on a dinner date, because this is a big challenge for people, and at a fancy restaurant, a lot of times they're going to go for what tastes better, and they typically go for like not whole grain bread or white rice or mashed potatoes with none of the skin or something like that. So what you could do is always opt for a salad or a side salad or side of broccoli, or again, adding in an avocado to something. I went to lunch a couple weeks ago with a friend and she always adds avocado with her salad, I noticed. And I don't know if she's doing it on purpose, but that adds in quite a bit of fiber to a meal that you're not already doing. It doesn't add in protein. Some people think avocado is protein because it's an add in, but it does add in fiber to it. And the salad is going to do the same thing. So that's going to help you, even though salads sometimes aren't very, very high in fiber. They're definitely, like I said, going to be better than doing nothing at all. Whew. Okay. I don't know if I'm out of breath because that was a lot of information or because I'm pregnant, but I hope that helps you when it comes to fiber and knowing like what to put in there. I know we didn't really even talk about prebiotics, but if you want to, we can go for it in the next episode. Just let me know below. But I really encourage you to check out the Millennial Living video because it's a lot more comprehensive and just a lot more like a start here and then this could maybe fill in the gaps type of thing. And again, you get 2 weeks free if you sign up through our website that we'll put below. But call to action today is sign up for the email list. I feel like, I don't know about you, but as somebody who's in their 30s, I'm not on social media as much as I thought, as much as I used to be, or I like go around to like different ones. And I put out a lot of good content on every platform. So I try to consolidate it all for you at the beginning of the month, at the end of the month. And then I also email the podcast episode if I got time to advertise that. So if you don't want to miss anything, I would recommend you sign up for our email list. You could also get a freebie if you want to sign up. There is a how to track on MyFitnessPal guide. There's also a free fast food guide that I made eternities ago that I probably should update, but that all would also get you in, and I can link all that below. So stay in the know and sign up for our email list. But until next time, which might be next week, it might be in 2 weeks, might be in 3 weeks, I'm giving myself grace with the podcast, but I do try to post it on Thursdays if possible. But if Thursday comes around and it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. But I'm glad I got one out today. I have some good plans to get the rest of them, some outlines to get some interesting episodes out the rest of the month. So hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Millennial Nutritionist podcast. For daily weight loss tips and nutrition information, you can find us on Instagram at the.millennial.nutritionist and on TikTok at millennial.nutritionist. If you find this information helpful, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend who needs encouragement on their health journey. See you in the next episode.